Got some people.
Oh, cool, man. Hold on, go live. Cool. Oh, it won't let me go live in there. Okay, I'll delete that. That's weird. Okay. What's going on, everyone? It's your boy PJ the Paradox Nerd, back again with another live stream, and we got a really awesome one tonight because we got a special guest in the house, uh, Justin from ComicCom podcast. Thank you for joining me and Lael on this live stream. Obviously, 1/6 scale man needs no introduction. You know who he is, and what he's all about. He's a big Star Wars fan and collector, like I am. And yeah, really appreciate you everyone tuning in for the show.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. But before we get get into the show and start talking about Star Wars and everything Star Wars, I just want to address the chat. We got Astro Wizard in the house. He goes, I heard Nemesis Prime is here tonight. We got Michael Black in the house. What's going on, Michael? We got Andy Standifer. Oh, sorry if I mispronounced the name. We got Combat Evolve, and we got Simon. Combat, if you are in the Facebook group, please join the Sitcast podcast YouTube channel so that you could join the live stream chat. We got Simon in the house. You guys are back at it again, always and every day. We are always back at it. We got Metamorphic Customs in the house. Leal, Justin, you guys ready to do this?
Hell yeah.
Let's do it.
Dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
It never surprised. I mean, every time I hear it, man, it's just every time I hear it, man, it's like an event. Like it's like this needs to be like Disney Plus needs to pick this up. They need just to pick up the show, just because of that intro itself, man. Like it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it's been a long time, man. Seriously, yeah. I went through some intros, to get to that intro. Because you know what it is sometimes like when you try to relay to somebody like what your vision is about like your intro, it's really hard. But then I talked to my boy Richard and he was able to hook it up.
Just the essence itself. I mean, it just captures everything about the essence of Star Wars in that intro, man. Like seriously.
Yeah,
I've heard it hearing it so many times. I'm still like,
you get the feels. That's what it's all about.
Right. It's just like it's unavoidable, man. It's like, wow. Like I can listen to that like a soundtrack every single day.
Yeah, and I want to relate to the guy that was doing it. I was like, listen, Dark Side. I mean, obviously this is Sithcast, right? Like, so I was like, we need to do a Dark Side theme because you know what it is too. Like, Justin, Leal, and we're all collectors here, and we want people to come to the dark side of collecting. We don't want no light side. We don't want you to, we want you to go full blown dark side, full blown Sith, into collecting. So, by the way, live stream without King Ding-a-ling.
There he is, man. There he is.
We got Caesar M in the house. We got Adrian Montoya. We got ATV Racer in the house. We got Red 5 Strong. And we got Michael Black. I think I said what's up to him. All right, so
standing by, man.
Yeah, Red 5 standing by. So, guys, I've been a fan of Justin and his podcast that he does with Zach, aka Milton the Manimal. It's just one of those things. Like I just jumped right into his podcast, and I just totally fell in love with it, man. And the fact that he loves Star Wars as much as we do, I was like, yo, I need to get him on as soon as possible.
Definitely, man.
So with that being said, Justin, can we just, get to know you a little bit here before we dive into our topics for tonight? What got you into collecting? What got you into Star Wars, and how long have you been a Star Wars fan? your top 3 Star Wars movies. I know that's a loaded, 3-parter question right there, but yeah,
Let
let's
me
hear
write
it.
that
Put
down.
a lot of pressure on the
I'll write that down as I'm going through. So it's really interesting. Before you didn't even actually tell me I was going to be answering questions, but I thought about it today, like when I first was introduced into Star Wars, and it was when the THX VHS they came out in the 90s. I got it for Christmas, and from my parents bought me that, and that was the first time I ever saw those movies, and I was just like, damn, this is really awesome. And I dabbled in like collect. I was always a toy collector, so I got all those Power of the Force toys from Hasbro. And then when they re-released them in the theaters in the 90s, I actually saw the first 2, so New Hope and Empire. I saw with my mother because she saw them years ago in the theaters when she was young. So it was like bringing her back to watch them. And I remember then seeing Return of the Jedi with like my friends, and then we ended up seeing it a second time, me and my mom. And then I've just been a fan, since then. And I really wasn't into the comics of Star Wars. It was really just like the movies, the show. I was always collecting different things, whatever it could be. And it's funny. I even thought about this, and this is going to be some throwback. So in like the early 2000s, I worked for EB Games and GameStop.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was a manager of one of the stores during Revenge of the Sith. And when that game and / movie came out, there was a promotion for that month. It was like whichever store can sell the most pre-orders and then sell through of Revenge of the Sith, that you were going to get like a lightsaber. So I actually have 2 of them. They're small. They're probably about this big. They're the master replicas.
Yeah.
And my store won because I pushed the hell out of that game. So I got the Darth Vader, and then like my associates, they took like Dooku and Obi-Wan, and I want to say there was like one, Yoda had one, but years down the line, my friend actually gave me the Obi-Wan. So now I have Darth Vader and the Obi-Wan like sitting in my case, which is really nice. So, and that was just something that I always had. And then over the past couple of years, I've just really been back into it. I think Clone Wars really hit for everybody back in 2008, like the movie and then like the show just really pushed Star Wars to like a new front.
Yeah, definitely.
And, now it's just been huge over the past 2 years with Disney Plus getting Mandalorian and then the comic series, coming back to Marvel back in 2015, right? 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
It's just been so many good series,
Definitely.
right after another. So, and I'm going to love collecting them.
Yeah. What's your top 3 Star Wars movies of all time?
In order or just any 3?
We could try to do it in order if you can, but if it's out of order, that's fine.
All right. So I would say at number 3, gotta go Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. All right, good.
Then I gotta go Rogue One.
Wow. Okay.
And then I gotta go Empire. Like,
of course.
Yes.
That's
But Rogue One, I would even throw Solo up there in my top 3.5.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's such a good off the
Solo was a
track.
good film, man. Like Solo was a film that, pretty much you can, regardless of what the whole situation was, with the actual film, with, Lucasfilm and Disney and what they were going through with the directors and, this, that, and the third, regardless of that, in my opinion, we still got a hell of a ride with that actual film. And it doesn't get the credit, it deserves. I mean, it was still basically, it reminded me, and it even felt like an old Western film. You know what I mean? Before we got Mandalorian, we got that. It was just the references. And there was certain levels of nostalgia that were in that film that I didn't even actually get from the sequels, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, I'm with you, man. Like, Solo, it should, it's up there. Like, it's, it deserves its due. Definitely it does.
Yeah, I think, with Solo, I think the fact that it released around Endgame and Deadpool, that really hurt, that film. And on top of that, people were still kind of pissed off about The Last Jedi. It really divided the fans with that movie. And, it really, I wouldn't say it caused the downfall of Star Wars, because Star Wars will never die, but it's just one of those things where Star Wars had the lull, not only with just movies and shows, but with the merchandise, right?
Yeah.
And could you say that about the comic books also, Justin, around that time where The Last Jedi, like after that Last Jedi hit, there wasn't really like much of a, I guess, hype for the comics around that time?
I don't think so much for hype. It just story wise. Like I remember reading Star Wars, just a regular run that came out in 2015. I think like the first 50 issues, and by like that middle of the run, I fell off, and I ended up like selling the full run. But the Vader series,
yes,
all 3 Vader series are on point. Like I can reread Volume 2. Like the whole him prior to episode 3, 4, 4, 5, and 6. I'll read that all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Highly suggested.
I actually have that whole run of that Vader thing, which we'll dive into the comics a little bit later. So that's a really good list, man. Like first of all, the fact that you added Revenge of the Sith, my number 2 favorite movie of all time, is just, is just awesome, man. And obviously Empire Strikes Back. Rogue One, seriously, Rogue One has been one of those sleeper Star Wars movies, right? Where, it started creeping up in a lot of people's list, I guess, because when more and more people watch it, it just gets higher and higher. And, people just love rewatching that movie. So yeah, that's a great list. Also, I wanted to ask you, do you collect, in terms of, besides the Star Wars comic books, and I know you collect a lot of DC comic books as well, is there any others, like do you collect maybe Hot Toys or Hasbro Black Series Star Wars stuff, or?
I used to collect tons of Hot Toys. I was big into like the whole Nolan verse, anything that The Dark Knight, Batman Begins. I had all those. I started doing the Man of Steel series. I sold everything off. I made good money on my Hot Toys, and now, I'm dipping back in with this Ahsoka Tano stuff. So I got the Clone Wars on pre-order. I got the Mandalorian Ahsoka on pre-order. A couple busts I have on pre-order as well.
Really?
Like Gentle Giant. Yeah, the Sabine, the Ahsoka. Dude. Yeah, I got them on pre-order. I'm waiting for them to come in so then I can kind of put them around my, around the room with the comics. So not too many other things. I got a couple Funko Pops here and there for Star Wars, like the Rebels crew, Ahsoka. They really need to come out with some more villains, man. They keep putting out these like D and E list characters. They need some more villains to come out on the Funko Pops.
I hear you. And the fact that actually you have a really good wide range of collectibles. You collect Funko, you collect Hot Toys and statues and busts. And with the Gentle Giant, ever since they got bought out by Diamond Select Toys, they've been really like doing pretty well with some of the stuff that they've been releasing. And Hot Toys, I think you said Ahsoka. So did you pre-order the Ahsoka Hot Toy or looking to pre?
No, I got both of them pre-ordered, and I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure next week, or what is it, when May the 4th comes around in 2 weeks, they're going to announce the pre-order for the premiere statue for Ahsoka. And I'm on like the waiting list for when they announce it, because there's going to be tons of announcements from Sideshow. So once they announce it, I'll absolutely be on that statue list.
Oh, which for the Sideshow?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, dude, yes. Yes, you are going full dark side mode right now. Because it's good to hear that. Like, it for us, like, Leal and I, we just love everything Star Wars. Like, whatever it is, as long as it's Star Wars, we love it. And I'm the same way. I collect a lot of the Diamond Select Gentle Giant bust. I collect Hot Toys. I collect a lot of the Hot Toys stuff, and right now I'm also picking up a lot of the the Sideshow, or anything that deals with quarter scale like statues and stuff. Even the Mythos line, I picked up a lot of that. So that's good to hear, man. And you know what, people sleep on Diamond Select, man. Like, I always show this statue. This is like a $50 $40 statue, right? And the fact that they do things like this for all types of collectors, from it ranges from like $40 to all the way to like $250. It's just, they just do amazing stuff. And the fact that they give us the characters that a lot of companies don't usually give, right? Like you said, the Sabine Wren.
Yeah.
I don't see like I don't know. Maybe Hot Toys might dive into that a little bit later. Hopefully they do. Right? Like, what do you think, Leia? Like, do you think they'll do like a Sabine Wren? Like,
Depends. I
Yeah.
think you know what, I'm almost certain that they possibly will, because you got to remember, what we seen at the end of Rebels was both Ahsoka and Sabine on their mission to pretty much in search of
Ezra.
Ezra Bridger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they basically we seen that, and also I think the way they're kind of tying in the Mandalorian with that, or Ahsoka's journey with that, is when she asked the magistrate at that particular time, "Who's your master? Where is your master? Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?" So
Oh, you give me chills over here.
exactly. So when you think about that, and you think about that reference, we see that scene with her, but then we also see, if you take that and you apply that to the last scene that we've seen in Rebels, where she arrives to retrieve Sabine and say, look, this is in a sense saying we're going on this journey to find you. I think that's how they're tying it in. And I think when we actually see the Ahsoka the Ahsoka show, that'll probably be the first time that we're introduced to Sabine. So it's a no-brainer that we'll actually get a Sabine Wren hot toy figure,
or even like
even a statue. You never know.
Yeah, I think I've seen with the Bo-Katan, they're doing a premiere statue for her, I think, with diamonds.
Oh yeah,
right?
that looks good.
That's pretty dope.
That's
for
crazy.
It's like 150. That's a no-brainer too.
That's definitely a no-brainer, man. It's crazy.
And you know what though? Like, I think what people don't realize is that you could actually pick these statues up from Amazon. And Amazon, for some reason, like, I don't know if they get a huge influx of inventory of these statues, but a lot of them go on sale. Like, you could pick up the Kylo Ren bust here in the back of radio. Well, you can't see it, but you could pick that up for like $120. Like they go on sale for a pretty good price.
Yeah,
and they're very good quality.
Yeah.
And
I've gotten some of the DC line on the cheap end for those. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's one thing I love about them, is that they really really cater to a lot of collectors, and just the fact that like they're the only company that's really going hard with giving us the characters that we want. Like, I'm gonna pull up this, since we're talking about Diamond Select, this one right here. This is the Gentle Giant Boba Fett half scale bust, which is pretty damn cool, and especially for collectors that don't have a lot of space and a lot of funds to use on like those full scale busts, right? Like those $1,000 to $1,500, like what. This is just a great option, I think there was a guy, like one of my viewers. He asked me, he's like, "Oh, what 1/6 scale statue should I get? Like, I really want to get into statues." And I introduced him to this. This is like $230, or 200. Well, this is 230 shipped, and for what you get, man, I mean, this is like an iconic pose and everything, and yeah, and they're just getting better and better, man. So, dude, just loving the fact that you collect Hot Toys, statues, Funko Pops, and everything. it's just music to my ears, man. And
I got so much stuff that I left at my parents when I bought a house. It's like a toy store up in my parents' attic. Like, there's times where I walk up, if I go to my parents and I literally go into the attic, I feel like I have sometimes more toys in their attic than I see at Target and Walmart around here. Like, and because you and I are semi-close, like there's just it's not like it used to be. Like, I used to go into Walmarts and Targets and be like, oh my God, look at all these Transformers and Star Wars and, Marvel Legends and everything. Now it's just like you go in and it's like, if you're not like the first person there when the Hasbro product gets put out, you're beat. And then you're on, the aftermarket, or if luckily you pre-order it.
And you know what contributed to that was the simple fact that when we had, around then, and I remember, like, when you walk into like a Target, Walmart, even when Kmart was around, you can actually walk in certain areas and you would actually see, just lines of different figures, and there was assortments. You can actually pick them. And, I remember like we used to have like KB Toy Store. They was used
Oh
to,
yeah.
and you actually go in and get all your Hasbro figures and stuff like that. I mean, especially when like the prequels dropped, I would always go and just pick up all my my figures from there. But a lot of that also contributed to the fact that we did have locations like KB Toy Stores and what was
Toys R Us.
Toys R Us when they were actually open.
Yeah.
Once that shut down, I mean, the idea locations became Walmart and Target to get your figures and get certain things. So it was like they was, and especially with May the 4th coming around, it May the 4th and around Christmas time, especially when they always release, if they're releasing films, you have to be there like early, like I'm talking about extra early just to grab, because when you go in, it's like everything's picked over. The figure you might have been looking for, you won't find it. So yeah, it's even with, like I said, I mean, I remember like a couple years back when they had released the Lego Boba Fett Slave One set, the reissue. They only the Target within my area, because I was actually searching for it hard. The Target in my area they were only getting 3. Like just initially, you had to be there early. I got there like I literally stayed out in the parking lot until they opened so I can get my hands on one. Literally. So it was crazy, man. It's crazy.
I used to this is probably going back almost 20 years now. I used to work at Target in the toy department. I actually opened up a Target here in New Jersey, and that was my first department head. So I was supervisor at Target, of the toy department. So when anything came in, and if something I liked, it would stay in the stock room, but street dated stuff, like I knew when things were coming out, and then like you'd have like the Hasbro person come, you'd have Mattel, and they'd tell you about all the product coming out, or they would put out the stuff. And you'd have those people there at 8 o'clock, like every morning. You have the Hot Wheels guys, they come in, and I'd be like, listen, nothing's new since yesterday. Like, sorry, it's nothing new.
Wow, that's awesome though. Like they actually have like like those companies come out, and I know NECA does it too. Like they have like their own, they do their own like setup for their stores and stuff like that. Which, by the way, in Target nowadays, like you go to the NECA side, you're like, what is going on here?
It's not like it used to be. In Toys R Us, that NECA section was awesome.
It was crazy.
Yeah. Even
but you know what I heard? That they're actually someone picked up the Toys R Us franchise and they're reintroducing it or something like that. This is what I heard. Like they're actually about to start restarting and revamping the actual franchise. They're going to open stores again. So I don't know. We'll see.
By the way, stranger danger. There's Will Foxification goes, where should I take my new Tinder date for tacos? Oh God.
Oh my God, I knew he was gonna do that.
Ignore that guy, guys. By the way, shout out to Will Foxification. Please check out his YouTube channel. Good friend of ours, obviously. Single Songwriter came in the house. What's up, Single? We got Astro Wizard. Who else is here? Just wanted to say what's up before we move on. Ekwan in the house. Andrew Gibo, KB Toys brought me back, man. Yeah. Nothing better than going to KB Toy Store and looking for your Ninja Turtles or Star Wars figures. Oh, man.
Transformers, everything.
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 But yeah, it goes, did you guys see the video of Target employee getting caught taking all the TMNT NECA products off from the vendor? Like, no.
Okay, I gotta watch that.
Okay, that's a horrible way to go to jail. Because of, but yeah, and it's great, man. It's like I said, it's great to hear that. And just before we talk more Star Wars, I just do want to share this. This was actually just released today. This, I know Leon and I, we probably talked about this till we're blue in the face, but finally to get to see the the final production pictures on this thing is just really, really exciting. Justin, what's your thoughts on this figure, man? Like, is this something like you would consider picking up? I know it's you're strictly like Ahsoka, or you're just getting the Ahsoka for now, but
yeah, I don't really want to dive too much back into the Hot Toys. It's going to be like certain figures. So, I'm starting slow with the two Ahsokas. I'm sure, like we said, if Sabine comes, they'll put one out for her. I could see myself getting another figure here and there, but it definitely has to be a figure that I want to put in a case for long term.
Yeah,
Because that, even with statues, like I'm constantly swapping out my DC statues. I probably have like about 20 to 30 statues. I can't display them all. So I got to pick and choose like which ones I get. And even now, like Star Wars, I look around, the only one that I really have behind me that you can't see is a Darth Maul one from Gentle Giant like years ago. And that one's it was actually the episode 1 Gentle Giant one. So it's like really old school, but
oh wow.
I'm still waiting to get like the next one. Like Hot Toys is one thing. I'm sure Sideshow will put out one. If XM Studios ever does one, I mean that thing's gonna be like quarter scale, $1,000. Like it'd be epic for me to put it because it's like a centerpiece. Like I've always looked at XM Studios, but I'm just like, man, that's like a once. It's like you could get like 4 or 5 statues for the price of an XM Studios.
Yeah, but you know what though? Like it's so worth it once you get them, man. It's just so it's such a luxury item, especially when you unbox an XM. When the way they package it, it's really like an experience. So hopefully, one day you get get to dive into the XM Studios Star Wars.
I have a couple I have a couple Sideshow ones.
Oh, which ones? Yeah, which ones?
I have the Mark Brooks above me, the Mark Brooks Black Cat, Mark Brooks Spider Gwen, and then the Art Germ Zatanna.
Oh, wow, nice.
Zatanna's it's crazy.
Yeah, she was my biggest one. The other two aren't as tall because they're shorter because they have like bases. But that Zatanna, I even got the print that went with that. I was like immediately on pre-order for both of those.
Yeah. I love Art Germ's work, man. He does amazing. Like, I'm such a fan of his. I always go every time I go to New York Comic Con. I always go to his booth and get some art prints. I just kind of wish he'd do some like Star Wars stuff. Like I know he does a lot of.
Yeah, he has never done that.
No, I was gonna try and get a commission out of him, and then I saw the price of it. I was like, yikes! Like, ouch! It's weird because the way before when he first started doing the cons and stuff, like his commissions were super cheap, and now it's like super expensive, man. And like it's like like the thousands, But yeah, man. First of all, I can't believe they did this pose layout. I was like, oh man, punching Baby Yoda, of course.
Yeah, that. Yeah, I guess they just wanted to milk it, but you know what I mean. Like, I figured there were going to be some references, and even once, like I said, people get it in hand, there will be, you're going to see a couple of poses, people trying to recapture that, the essence of that. This one right here, this picture right here, this photo, I really love it.
Dude,
I love
thank you.
Actually, there's something like this, so it's
dude,
crazy.
I can't believe it, dude. You enabled me. Like the enabler has been enabled.
I told you, it's not worth it just getting one. I mean, if you get one, I mean, you have to have two, bro, to recapture the scene. I mean, it just makes it that much better. Like once you go down that rabbit hole, like I said, you might as well just dive right in, bro. Especially when you're doing something. But I mean, Justin, in your case, bro, like you said, like just starting out gradually slow and just picking and choosing. I guess once I get to that point where, who knows when that'll be, when I'm just like, you know what, enough is enough. Let me just slow down and just pick and choose certain things and let things slide. The problem with that is we're talking Star Wars. With normally with Marvel and DC, I can do something like that. But man, yeah.
No, I could see myself like if they pre-ordered the Dark Troopers, right?
Yeah,
they did those. So if they have that, and then you get the Mandalorian Luke. Of course, you're going to have a couple of Dark Troopers because you want to make a cool battle action scene. Like, come on, you can't just have one.
That's true.
You have to have more than one, and that's the thing is like they know it. They know you can't have just one. They know it.
And by the way, Hot Toys really stepped up their photography game, man. I don't know who did these. It's not BG Toy Art, but I forgot. I can't even read the name of it. But man, look at this, man. These are like professional. And
they look great. And that's the thing. It's like photorealism with this, man. Like I love it. I love how they've captured this. So yeah.
I'm like looking at these pics because to be honest, this is the first time I'm seeing this pics because I'm already having one sent to me. For review. Well, not sent to me. I bought it, and it should be coming in pretty soon. And I try not to look at too much into the pics because I want to be surprised when I get the figure and really give it an honest review. But man, I'm just looking at these pictures, man, and they just look phenomenal.
Yeah, they're incredible.
And so yeah, I do have one coming from overseas, and then I did pre-order another one, thanks to Leia, through Sideshow. So yeah, my wallet's it's hurting right now, but it's gonna even hurt more for May the 4th because we got. Oh man, I'm just so scared.
I agree.
I'm so scared to see what they're gonna drop on May the 4th. I feel like, Sideshow. I mean, they're having like a week-long event. It's before it used to be just like just a day, right? And if it will be lucky if they announce anything, but usually they don't. And I heard like they're gonna put like out of stock items back in stock. Usually they do like sales, for that day. But let me ask you, Justin, like, do you do anything special for May the 4th? Ever since it became like a thing, or
I always watch one movie. There's never like it's usually just like a flip of a coin. This year it's a little bit different. I think like I feel like 2 years ago they had them in theaters. Like Phantom Events does different movies here and there. So I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago they had the original Star Wars, A New Hope, because it was the 35th anniversary. So I want to say I went and saw it in theaters then. Or it's got to be a couple of years. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be all over the internet, on social media, waiting for something to get posted. Like I said, they showed off it's on pre-order now on Sideshow is the Ahsoka Tano print with Darth Vader in the back.
Yeah.
And like I said, they have the waiting, for the Ahsoka Tano
World Between Worlds.
Yes.
Logo on the back. Yeah.
So, the statue's coming, and I'm sure they're going to put more pre-orders up for anything, whether it's Hot Toys, whether it's if XM Studios gets the license, and of course Bad Batch is coming, so gonna be watching that.
I'm for me, like, May the 4th has been a holiday for me. Maybe the first year when it became like a thing, I don't know, I might have went, left work a little bit early, just to go check out like the Disney store or the Target or whatever to see if they have anything exclusive. But then I realized that, like, when I got out of work, like everything's sold out, and then like, I go online that day and a lot of stuff is like sold out. So I was just like, you know what? Next year I'm going to take off. And ever since that year, I've been taking off on May the 4th, and people know, and people in my job know. They're like, "Oh, PJ's off today. Oh, it's me. Oh, it's May the 4th.
May the 4th.
And what I do usually is like, I scour the internet for great deals. Usually, I go to Heroes and Villains, that clothing company, and buy a whole bunch of merch, because usually they have like a 20% off sale. Plus, if you use their the code from their emailing list, like you get like another 10% off. Yeah, just go crazy, man. Like, and then sometimes like if they have stuff that's dropping in the Target stores or Disney, I will go and pick up stuff from there. I know Disney usually gives out like a pin or something, or they'll have like a special lithograph or something. Like if you buy with a, you'll get it for free if you buy with a purchase or something, and yeah, I just make it a thing. But like as years go by, like I see like how it's becoming bigger and bigger every year, especially after The Mandalorian. Now, like you're starting to see like this huge like influx of merchandise, comic books, right, Justin? It's just like insane. So, that's why Leia and I think we talked about it, in previous live streams before. We're going to go all day, man. We're going all day. And Justin, you're more than welcome to join us. I don't know if you're off that day, but if you want to come on, we're going to do like a Bad Batch review. So yeah, other stuff like we don't want to give too much out, but yeah, basically we're going hard, and we're gonna come up with a menu pretty soon. Maybe like the night before we'll release the menu of our shows that we're gonna do that day, and we're really excited. And Leia, I know you said you usually celebrate May the 4th. What have you done in the previous May the 4ths to celebrate Star Wars, man?
I mean, I normally pick a trilogy, just depending on which one, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know what I mean? I haven't, even as divisive as the sequels have been, I'll still watch them. I mean, I'll still, like I said, I'll find certain elements in the films that would give me some sort of nostalgic tone or undertone. I think this year, like I said, I mean, my fiance, she was talking about she wants to do something special for it, so we're going to see how far that goes, how we're going to do it. But yeah, it's always an all-day celebration. You know what I mean? Like I said, she'll probably wake up in her Darth Vader pajamas, and I'll probably wake up and we'll probably watch a film early in the morning. And it's crazy why the kids basically they're remote, so they're not going to be able to really watch anything. So we'll have it to ourselves. But yeah, I mean it's definitely an event. Every year it's an every year thing. And I think it's getting bigger each year. Like each year, it's getting much bigger. So it's always a setup. And now knowing that Sideshow is planning on doing a celebration pretty much all week, it just lets you know, like, wow, there must be some things that are coming that we're not really prepared for. We got a couple of updates, and we've gotten a few hints here and there, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be super interesting.
Yeah, I'm hoping they kind of like tease us with a trailer, like a Book of Boba trailer. I mean, come on.
Andor? Maybe an Andor trailer, maybe.
An Andor trailer. Oh, people always like, including myself. Like, I keep forgetting that the Andor trailer was coming, or Kenobi. Like I think were you talking about it, Justin, on your podcast? I forget. Where I know they started filming about a month ago, right, or something.
Well, we talked about the casting real quick.
Yeah.
Like a couple people that got casted, they showed off that photo. But really, like other than that, we kind of just spec on who could be playing who. Of course, we know the people that are playing characters like obviously Obi-Wan's in there, Hayden Christensen, Aunt Beru.
Yes.
Uncle Owen, like those guys are coming back. But then it was like, who are the other people? Like the girl from Game of Thrones is in there, and then there's just like other people that you're just like, well, are we going to see? Are we going to see Asajj? Are we going to see maybe Darth Maul show up, kind of like a Rebels thing?
Second sister, you know what I mean? It
So
could be
yeah,
like an Inquisitor. You never know. Like it's a stacked. And then to know O'Shea Jackson is in it, we have him. It's crazy. Like, so it'd be interesting to see how this is actually set up. They have full confidence in Deborah Chow. So, definitely I know she's going to pull it off. I'm just glad we're getting it back. It'd be good to probably see a couple of behind the scenes, views, stuff like that. That would be interesting, man. That would definitely be interesting.
I'd like a game to be announced. Give me some news of an upcoming video game, because we don't have anything.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Give me like Fallen Order 2. Give me a Coder remake or Coder 3. Like,
dude,
give me
Coder.
something.
Dude,
Yeah,
did you hear about the rumors about KOTOR being remade, or like I guess for like updated graphics and probably in HD and all that good stuff?
I think they need to either do 3 or do like the Final Fantasy route and just completely remake 1 with like the engine now, like the real engine.
Oh, absolutely, dude! I would so play that game over and over again if they did that.
It's gonna be interesting, man. Like to see how they do it. Like I just hope if you do it, do it well, and take your time and do it. You know what I mean? But stay true to the nature of the game. Because KOTOR, I probably played that religiously, like until it was one of those things that it probably until my Xbox failed. You know what I mean? Like I just played it so much because it was so much enjoyment. So who knows, man? Like, I mean, if it's done well and they re-release and it's done well, definitely, you already know how that's gonna go.
Yeah. Hiko Damascus asking, what do you think about a Vader versus Maul fight in the Kenobi show? I mean, I don't think they're gonna fight, but I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, anything is canon now. Anything that
Yeah,
happens,
anything is
it's a
happening.
possibility.
So,
Mhm.
you
Well,
know,
actually, someone asked me. I'm not sure if it was here in this live stream or in the previous live stream, but um, they were asking, do you think, because obviously you guys watch Rebels and you saw the fight scene between, spoiler alert, guys, and I'm sorry if you didn't watch Rebels up to this point, I'm so sorry, but you know Kenobi fights Darth Maul, right, in that Rebels show in season 3.
Mhm.
People were speculating that scene might show up in the Kenobi show. Like Ray Park might come back. I mean, do you think that's a possibility, Justin? Like,
I'd love to see it. Ray Park could still, he could still play the role.
mhm.
But I think we'll probably get more of like a post-war Kenobi. Like also, we'll get this. Maybe we'll get the Inquisitors. I'm hoping Asajj because she's not dead. I don't know. It's gonna be it's gonna be a good show regardless. Whether it's if it's 8 episodes or 10 episodes, I don't know what they're scheduled to do, but I think we'll be fine.
I
Yeah.
would definitely
That's good. Yeah.
want to Asajj. I definitely want to see a live action Asajj. I really do. I think that it would be so interesting for us to get something like that, on the show. For us to kind of dive into something like that, it would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's I guess it's like I said. I mean, I can almost predict that. In my opinion, I think we're going to get an Inquisitor. I think we will.
Yeah.
I think we will.
Well, Lael, your question goes to you as well. Like, do you think that we'll see that fight scene between Kenobi and Maul in the Kenobi show? Like, maybe it'll be like,
I
like
don't
a
know,
fast
because
forward, like,
it's going to depend, because you got to keep in mind,
Mhm.
what we saw in Rebels. We saw much, and we did see an aged Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
It depends on what they're going for, with this. And you never know. I would honestly say you would never know how that's going to actually play itself out.
Mhm.
I can definitely see Maul showing up in like an Ahsoka show, possibly. But as far as that scene, it would be interesting to see it, because then I think it almost kind of cancel out, in a sense, what happened in Rebels if they did something like that. Because the thing is, I know, unless they're going to want to go out, they would, I mean, for something like that, something so epic in live action, they would want to go out just, other than just like one slash and then Maul's gone. You know what I mean? So I would think that they would want a much bigger scale for something like that. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see the route. What I want to see it, I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of torn on that, because I don't know, because I mean, I really enjoyed the scene that we got from Rebels.
I
On
agree.
so many different levels, like I said, and there was a few people that were disappointed, but I wasn't, because we were seeing a skilled Jedi Master in Obi-Wan. We were seeing a reckless, doesn't want to be called a Sith Lord, Darth Maul, who was just, fueled by rage and wasn't ready for that attack. He was just, reckless. I love what that scene basically represented. So to have it in live action, unless they do it specifically that way, if they do something else, and it's going to cancel out what we've seen in Rebels. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And it's one of those things. It's weird because when Obi-Wan Kenobi fought Darth Maul for the first time, it was like the duel of the fates between it was for basically like for Anakin and stuff like that, right? When they fight again in Rebels, it's for Luke, for protection of Luke. So basically Obi-Wan has been like the protector of the Skywalkers for a very long time. So it's almost like poetic, to see them fight again in Rebels. So I agree, man. Like, to be honest, that was such a perfect scene
Mhm.
I
It's
know a
very
lot of people.
strategic. It's definitely the most strategic of all the
Yep.
fights.
Yeah.
Like you really have to break it down, and like what Obi-Wan does, his movements is it goes from episode 1, to Qui-Gon, and then his fight, all his fighting styles, they all change. His
Yeah.
stances change, from the different stances that they do.
Yeah.
Absolutely strategic, and I love that about that battle. And even the first time I watched it and I thought, I was just like, wow, that was terrible. But then I've rewatched it multiple times, and learning Obi-Wan and seeing him in Clone Wars show and episode 1 Phantom Menace, like you really appreciate that fight scene, and
You
how
do.
like it's very, you have to watch, it's almost like watching a chess match, like it's watching their eyes. It's such a strategic thing, and I absolutely love it.
Exactly. And I think it almost made me feel like Maul, as reckless as he was and fueled by that rage, I think in that time or at that moment, he was there not, the way my perception of it and the way I viewed it was, he wasn't there just to fight Obi-Wan. He was there to actually see if the prophecy was true.
True.
He wanted to see, and he there was a question he wanted to ask, like, is it true? Is he the one? You know what I mean? Is he, you know what I mean? That's what he wanted. It was fueled by vengeance, and what he wanted to get that vengeance against Darth Sidious, finding out whether or not this person, so he was just so, it was a beautiful moment because he was such a conflicted character, but it was like he got his answer, and which gave him peace at that moment. And that's why it was easy for him to just fade and say, I can finally let go, and even the respect that Obi-Wan gave him at that moment, you know what I mean? It was a level of respect. It was like two opponents, two enemies at odds, but made peace with each other to the point where in that moment, it was sort of like they became brothers. You know what I mean? It was an amazing moment. I loved it.
Yeah. And I to recreate that in the show is just, would do it just disservice.
And on top of that, if we did see Maul, definitely they're going to use Sam Witwer's voice. We already know.
Oh,
They would actually have to do that, again. So you never know.
I would love them to use Sam Witwer as Ray Park's. Obviously that was the reason why like they dubbed his voice in Phantom Menace, just because he just didn't have the voice that was very menacing, you could say, or intimidating. I'm really excited for the Obi-Wan show. People are, well, actually, this was actually not even teased. Yeah, this was said by the director herself, where she said expect a lot of fight scenes, especially between Vader and Kenobi. And, a lot of people were really pissed off about that because, that scene in A New Hope, I really can't say the quote. Maybe you guys could help me out with that one. Is when when I first met you, I was
just a learner.
Now
I'm the master.
I'm the master.
But see, that's the thing. When you see that, and Justin, I don't know if you agree or not, but that could have meant so many different things. We take that moment as him basically meaning that when he fought, Anakin / Vader or Mustafar, that was the only moment that they met. It could have been, other moments that they actually met. It could have been a moment where Vader was just becoming Vader or just discovering who he was. And, at that time, he might have actually faced, Obi-Wan once again, thinking he was more power and got bested once again. You know what I mean? We'd never know. So or we might see it in flashbacks, and we might see basically the scene on Mustafar from a totally different vantage point. You know what I mean? So there's so many different things and ways they can go with it. So
well, there's even the quote in New Hope when before Vader and Obi-Wan meet, there's the quote that Vader says, there's a feeling I haven't felt since, and then he just kind of cuts it, meaning that he feels Obi-Wan, but it's just like in our interpretation that we've always known the last time that they've met is Phantom Menace on Mustafar.
Exactly.
But now the show could mean this was the last time I met him, or last time I sensed him on this.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. It's so open-ended, like where they could really connect the dots here. And I think Deborah Chow has proved herself to be such a great director where she can really like to connect the dots. I'm really excited because I've been a Hayden Christensen fan ever since Revenge of the Sith. You know, the second movie, Attack of the Clones, I was like, ugh. It was really hard for me to like him, especially when they were rolling down the hill for 9 minutes and saying like all these lovey-dovey stuff. And that was really hard. But then when you saw him kill the Tusken Raiders and the children too, it's just like you felt that, like, you know, you felt that anger, and you could see like his acting skills like really come out in that. And a lot of people don't realize he actually was nominated for a Golden Globes Award for Life as a House. If you watch that movie, that was the movie that really caught George Lucas's eye, because he was portraying like a really damaged teenager, like he's tormented teenager in that movie. So he was like, wait a minute, ding ding ding, that's my Anakin Skywalker. So, but unfortunately for, George Lucas is not a good actor director. So, I've heard that like it was one of those where they'll do like one take and they'll be like, oh, okay, that's good kind of thing. And to see him back in the show, this makes me so happy, because this is the show where he will redeem himself to a lot of haters out there, the prequel haters out there, where they're going to say, wow, like, why did I hate Hayden Christensen so much? He's actually a good actor. And to see him like suit up as Vader again, and who knows, we might see some dream sequence where he's fighting Obi-Wan Kenobi, I don't know, in Mustafar again, or like just having like flashbacks of, him and Kenobi in Clone Wars, like in the Clone Wars, and stuff like that. It just makes me really excited. I hope they do that. I really hope they do that. I don't know. Justin, what's your thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you. If it's not going to be him dressed up as Vader, definitely flashbacks of the whole brothership that they had throughout the Clone Wars, because that's what it is. It's a postpartum Obi-Wan. So he's going to be upset of what's happened over the past 10 years, what's been going on, what happened. Obviously, he has an idea of what Anakin has probably become, but I think it's going to be a lot flashbacks of, in his mind, maybe using the Force and seeing what he used to have, this friendship with this person, this brother that he had in arms. So
I don't know, just a lot of good shows, guys. Seriously, Book of Boba and Kenobi, it's just so far away.
I would actually want to see, for once, a Jedi Master dealing with PTSD, bro. I would. I would love to basically see him deal with PTSD to the point where he's so torn by the simple fact that he had to, what he thought at that particular time was murder or kill his brother, or watch his brother die. You know what I mean? Someone who he's loved and looked up to, and looked at as such a promising figure. Like, just that he has to be dealing with, and hasn't really gotten to the point where has had anybody. And the thing is, what I'm wondering, and there's rumors about this, hasn't really been officially whatever put out there yet, but it'd be decent if he was actually communing with Qui-Gon about this, and Qui-Gon was helping him basically get through it. That would be amazing. It would be amazing premise. I mean, I guess we just have to see how they go with it.
Agree. Totally agree on Qui-Gon coming back. He's got to learn it from somehow.
From
and
somebody,
it would be great.
Right? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Now my question to you guys, real quick, before we talk about comics here, if you had a chance to see the shows now, right? Like, if I gave you, like, Justin, if I gave you a choice, like, hey man, I work for Disney, and guess what? I got Book of Boba here, and I got Kenobi here. You could only watch one right now. Which one would you pick?
I gotta go Kenobi.
Yes.
Because Book of Boba is, it's going to be an interesting show, because it's now post Return of the Jedi. We know he's alive, but man, the Kenobi series, there's so much stuff that is left unanswered after Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith. So, and if it's in between, that's what's so great about the expansion. And obviously this goes back to like Rogue One and Solo. There's so much going on in the universe in Star Wars that we don't know about. So we have Obi-Wan, we have the Kenobi series, we have Andor. So there's so much expansion that I think the Kenobi series is going to expand on stuff that we had left off from the Filoni verse and everything that else is in Star Wars and everything that's yet to come.
Wow, a lot of people are saying Kenobi. Lael, what's your
Kenobi.
Oh man,
Kenobi. I mean,
damn.
come on. Because the thing is, it's like, listen, I'm a dark side Sith, and I'm a Jedi fan. You know what I mean? Just the mystic value of, being a Sith, being a Jedi, the struggle basically between both levels of understanding and religion, bringing balance and understanding that one can't be without the other. Darkness rise, light to meet it. You know what I mean? That's just basically the way I see it. The rule of two. You know what I mean? Just the whole Jedi order. If we go back to the old Republic, I've always basically been a Jedi fan. So of course, to see this, and then come on, Ewan McGregor, he's one of the dopest actors of all time to me, bro. Like, I love Ewan McGregor, man. And like I said, I mean, I'm an Obi-Wan fan. So yes, Obi-Wan day one is what I would actually have to see. I mean, that's without question. I can't wait. Like, literally, when it's released, it's going to be an event that day. So yeah, I can't wait.
And I was gonna say is that, like, speaking of Book of Boba, real quick, I always wanted to, so I wouldn't say like, yeah, I have a little like insider information. And let me tell you, this guy has been, or girl, has been on point with whatever he's told me. And I think I told last season in Sithcast, I was telling everybody like, hey, Boba's coming back and all these characters, because he was just basically telling me all this. I knew about the different outfits of Boba. So I asked him, I try not to like hound him with too much information because I really want to like, enjoy the shows and stuff. But I did ask him about Book of Boba, and I asked them, hey man, like, are we getting all the bounty hunters back in the Book of Boba? And he was like, no, not all of them are coming back. I didn't want to ask like who was coming back. Obviously I want to be surprised, but it makes you think like who didn't, who's still alive, who's not around. I mean, Justin, what's your thoughts on like that little like bit of information that like he's like teasing us, not seeing everybody back as with Boba. Is that make sense, or do you think that there should be all of them come back?
I think, and this is obviously going to go into our comic talk, but with the whole War of the Bounty Hunters coming out this, in a month or so, we're going to see all the bounty hunters come back for this comic event, and everything that's kind of happening in comics is also happening in the shows. So it's all canon. So if I would think if someone dies in these comics, like gets completely, assassinated, annihilated, whatever you want to say, disintegrated, they're done. They're not going to show up. I don't think they should show up in these shows. So if it's like Zuckuss and 4-LOM, if it's Dengar, if it's Bosk, who knows? But I think I don't want to see everybody. I just want to see some. I want to see new characters. I think if they bring, what's the bounty hunter that was in episode 9 that took Rey? He was also in the new Vader series. Ochi.
Oh yeah.
So like, could we see him in like the Book of Boba Fett? Obviously we got Fennec Shah. Could we see Cad Bane? Is he still around?
Oh, dude!
Like,
we need Cad
Bane. There's so many, and there's a lot of characters that are in these comic books that could really show an appearance. So new and old.
What would be interesting about Boba, man? It would be interesting since Boba has actually took power, the rings of power. If word gets out and everybody's trying to there's a hit on him and all the bounty hunters is trying to take that crown, like that would be a really incredible show, like, to be quite honest. Or if they all work together and become like the Magnificent Seven of the, pretty much going around. So that would be incredible. And you know what I mean? I definitely listen, at the end of the day, we're getting such good Star Wars content. We're getting, the Book of Boba. We're getting Obi-Wan. We get Cassian Endor. We're getting, what is it called? The Acolyte. Is that the call? Is it
Acolyte?
Yeah. Acolyte. Yeah.
The Acolyte. We're getting, Ahsoka. Of course, we're getting the what is it? The
Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron, and what's that other one? I guess they said I don't know if they scrapped it or if they said they're going to go away. The Rangers of the Republic, the New Republic. So I don't know. It's we're just getting such great content at the moment, man. It's like, Star Wars is getting its just due. You know what I mean? I just hope that, they keep on going with it. You know what I mean? Rumor has it that I wouldn't, you know what, to be quite honest, man, because if you think about it, let's put two and two together right now. We had the final season of, or not the final season, but the last episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Sebastian Stan, what else does he have going on right now besides maybe waiting to see where Marvel's going, or if he may show up in, the new Captain America 4 film? Luke Skywalker's still out there. You can and what did Mark Hamill say? He said, look, he can't confirm that he is or is not his son. So he was saying, they were picking jabs, but I'm pretty sure Mark Hamill's with that all day, every day. So who knows what we can see? If we see it, I'm on board with it.
Yeah, same.
So let's go, man.
It'll be cool to actually, if you think, it'll be cool to have Mark Hamill and Sebastian Stan in that show. Like, have Mark Hamill, I don't know, just maybe to tie in with the sequels, like him secluded in the island and thinking about
flashbacks to where
he was and how he lost his way.
How he got there.
That would be
interesting. That would be amazing to see that.
I mean, because because then you could bring him back and then he could axe his chops off, and you bring Sebastian Stan and just showcase Luke being such a badass like he was in The Mandalorian.
I want to see the Luke that we saw even in the what was it? What was a game called Battlefront? The Luke that we actually saw in Battlefront.
That too, Battlefront 2.
I want to see that. I want to see that version of Luke during the campaign when he was going around looking for the artifacts. You know what I mean? When you had to actually, he was a badass in that. You know what I mean? So why give us that? I mean, I want to see that Luke. I do want to see that.
And he was pretty confident as well. So, all right. So, it's one of those things when you start talking about Star Wars, you could just go on for hours, right? I feel like I should just grab beer and start talking.
Hey, Justin, if you hear me talk too much, man, just be like, yo, this dude, can you shut up?
Hey, no. Believe me, that's why on my podcast, if I start talking, I don't want to bring too many articles because we try to keep it comics.
Yeah.
But I could do the same thing, talk about it all night long.
All night,
right?
I
know long. Yeah. And that's because we are passionate about Star Wars, and just one of those things just comes from the heart, And let's talk about the comics. And we mentioned Book of Boba, and you mentioned the comic book War of the Bounty Hunters, correct? That's coming up pretty soon. Could you tell us the release date on that so that people in the chat can know when to pick it up in the comic book stores?
Yeah, so it's coming out next month. They do the precursor, which is War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha, and then it's crossing over between Dr. Aphra, the main Star Wars series, Darth Vader, and it's not going to be in High Republic because obviously the timeline, but
the timeline's totally different before,
but we'll still at least get a crossover between all those series, and of course the Bounty Hunters series as well. So you have a good 4 series plus the one shot, which is something that they haven't done at all. We had Vader Down. That was probably the last crossover, but at that time there was only a few books out. Now you've really expanded the universe as far as what comics are out there. So and they said Dirge is coming back, and we all know Dirge from the cartoon and the Dark Horse stuff. I'm just curious to see what other bounty hunters are going to be thrown into this mix.
Yeah, and my question to you is that there are there's a lot of new collectors, maybe potential Star Wars comic book collectors out there, and they might ask this question. It's well, do I really need to read the comic books? And is it worth picking the comic books now? Because usually Star Wars comic books is always they're always in the bottom of the pile. Usually you get Marvel, DC, and then some of the independent comic books doing so well. When I say independent, we're talking about Umbrella Academy, and I know you saying that kill the children, or is
something is killing the children.
Something's killing the children in your podcast where that's doing well. So where does Star Wars lie? You know, I know you talk a lot about like collecting Star Wars spec books and things like that. Is there a market for, you know, collecting these spec books, and do they like have like retain like high value like a Marvel or DC comic book?
I think now with Marvel, and this is what it is. Since 2015, when they decided to, you know, put back out the series, any of these characters that are created in the Marvel universe has absolute potential to be on a cartoon, live action, any type of animated. You know, you have, and I've talked about this on my podcast, on my Star Wars spec. You got characters like Sana Starros. You have Yerika Quill, part of the Alphabet Squadron. You know, you have, of course, Dr. Aphra. You know, these are popular characters. You know, Dr. Aphra obviously is the main one because she's on her second ongoing series. So the fact that Disney and Marvel trusted enough for this character to have an ongoing series where the first series went 40 issues. No other character that has been created from
has gone 40 issues. But you know what? And it's a good storyline though. Like they really, to the point that once you read it, honestly, like you can actually see a live action version of something like that, and her place in, you know, how they base. I loved it. I love the book, man. I do love it.
Yeah. And I was gonna say is that, like, you know, Justin, like, you know, so, you know, we talked about like the war bounty hunters, like connecting with possibly with the bounty hunters. I mean, the Book of Boba.
It could. You never know. Like, if someone dies, I don't think we would see them. But there's the Bounty Hunter series is great because they've introduced a lot of brand new characters, and then characters that we've seen in the movies that are previously we've seen in movies that are now in the comic book format because we didn't see them before. So
yeah, and you know, we talk about Dr. Aphra, right? So, you know, I have like the full run of the first Vader, first Vader series where you know you had Dr. Aphra Vader number. It was Vader number 3, right, with Dr. Aphra first appearance. Like, you know, just to give example, like, you know, if I were to CGC grade it, and you know, it comes back at 9.8, how much would like a comic book like that like cost?
What it's going for now, like selling price, GPA, I guess you want. I'm telling you, it's crazy. A year ago, I was buying them. I mean, I had them raw, but I was buying them in 9/8, probably between $100-$150. Now they're going for like $400 or $500, and that's no news. It's just Star Wars is hot. So, you know, of course, the latest news that was last week was the rumors is that Chloe Bennett's going to be playing Dr. Aphra, and she looks perfect. She looks perfect, but I mean, she's doing the Powerpuff Girls show. Yeah. So how much time does she really have? But she could be one episode. You know, we got Bo-Katan in one episode. Yeah, well, 2 episodes. But all you need is an introduction, and depending on the fan praises it, if they're like, "Oh my God, I really like this character," then they'll bring her back. They'll find a way. They'll fit her in somewhere without a doubt.
Definitely, and she's hot right now.
Yeah. So like, do you, like, you know, like if she makes an appearance, that book will like skyrocket, right?
Oh, any announcement, you know, and I think now is still the time. You still have early enough time to buy. The print run on Vader was definitely at least 100,000, but the fact that the book a year ago was $100 to $150 in a 9.8 for the first printing, and now it's like $400 or $500. That book has not hit its ceiling, and we've seen in the comic book market now that books are just crazy right now. So for Star Wars, I think it's the same thing. I talked about it probably last week, I talked about it last week on the ComicCom podcast. I bought that Ahsoka Clone Wars #1, the variant, in a 9.6 last year for $300 off of somebody, and that's probably roughly what the going price was. The last 9.6 sold for over $3,000.
Oh my!
And when my friend first asked me if I wanted it, because he said he's like, I'm getting a 9.8 and a 9.6 back. He's like, I'm keeping the 9.8. Do you want the 9.6? And I was just like, I don't really have $300 right now. After a week, when CGC shipped it to him and he got it, and he's like, "Are you sure?" Because he's like, "I'm just going to sell it to somebody." And I was like, you know what? I was like, I'll take it. And if I wouldn't have taken it for $300, I would have had complete buyer's remorse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy, right? Like, these are the things, like, when I'm listening to your podcast, like, I'm just blown away, because there's a lot of, like, Leal knows, like, there's a lot of, like, Hot Toys market podcasts and shows out there, and you see, like, for Hot Toys, like, you see, like, a figure go from like 200 to maybe the most like 700, $800, and then when it hits like that 1,000 mark, it gets reissued, right? That's usually the case. The most I've seen a Hot Toy, like, in terms of pricing, like, I know the Mark 47 went for like 1,500, but then once it hit 1,500, it got reissued.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that with comic books, because if you reissue, like it'll be like a second printing or third printing and it loses its value, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to see that, like, like people investing in Star Wars comic books now and seeing that, like, oh, I bought this for 300, and guess what's how much it's going for? 3,000, is mind-boggling. Like, the comic book market is so different from, like, collecting Hot Toys and all these figures. It would take like 30 years for a figure to get that high. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just
Even a statue. Statues are the same way. Like, I don't see them double or tripling in price the way the comic book market does.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, they go up. I bought statues and sold them for good money. Even Hot Toys, I can remember I had, like I said, the Batman stuff. I had that DX Joker when they came out with the DX2 Joker Heath Ledger one. That was like $250. I sold it for probably $600 to $700 when I was selling them back. But that, it comes back down. They release new ones. They keep reissuing them. So
yeah. And it's just crazy now, like, seeing that. And that's why I love listening to your podcast, because you give everybody like an insider on, like, these books that will most likely get hot. And, like, they're going for a pretty good price. Like, I think I forgot the last one. It was that the TIE fighter girl.
Oh yeah, Erica Quill.
Yeah. So it's just one of those where you're giving, like, really good information about, like, okay, this is, like, only a certain amount of printed, and this is why it's gonna hit, and I just want to just kind of, and the reason why I brought you into as well, not only to talk about Star Wars, but to educate us first time collectors here, first time Star Wars comic book collectors. What would you like? What are your tips and what's your advice to us newbies that's coming into because I'm a newbie. I have a lot of, like, runs, but I picked them up because I was really enjoying the story. But then from, like, a investment standpoint, like, you see, like, this is, like, really, really good investment in terms of like, like some of the comic books that's going for a really high price nowadays, Yeah,
it's really, I look at the characters that are in the current canon, like Sana and Yerica Quill. I'll kind of give you the synopsis of why I picked Yerica Quill. So we have, of course, Patty Jenkins doing the next Rogue Squadron movie. Everyone's kind of banking on all these older characters, like Wedge is coming back and all the Rogue Squadron comic books from the Dark Horse series. But Alphabet Squadron is where she's from. It's a canon novel. There was a sequel to that. And the TIE Fighter book is the only appearance in the comics. And then on top of that, in June, they're doing the Pride Month. So Yerica Quill is going to be on the cover along with, like, Dr. Aphra, Sana, and Lando. So when people are buying these Star Wars comics and the variant cover is this person named Yerica Quill, no one's going to know. So the fact that Marvel/Disney is putting this out there, why not have her in more comics? And then people are going to wonder what her first appearance is. So first appearance, TIE Fighter #1.
That's true.
Yeah. And
she could be in the movies because and back to the Patty Jenkins thing again, Rogue Squadron. We don't know the timeline. All we know is what Patty Jenkins and what they said is that it's a new generation of fighter pilots. So
which could be Alphabet Squadron.
Exactly.
It could be. I mean, and it would make so much sense with her character. So yeah, I want to see it. Definitely, I want to see it because I was wanted to see a fresh take on the squadron itself. Something totally different. We've already seen renditions, you know, and don't even, the thing is, I not even going back to the game itself, you know what I mean? I do want to see something totally different. Not and it's not you know, put the game off. This game is dope. But you know, yeah, I do want to see, you know, something different. So she, you know, Patty could pick it up and just run with it. Who knows? That probably could have been the inspiration for what she's trying to do now. So
Yeah. And you know, like my question is like, you know, so like say I'm like, oh wow, I just listened to Sithcast and I listened to ComicCom podcast. All right, I'm going to the comic book store. What would you suggest, like, you know, like in terms of like titles to buy, like what to look out for when you're buying a comic book? And I'm sorry, we're going back down to the basics because I feel like there are listeners out there who are just maybe intimidated in going to a comic book store, because I was, you know, 3-4 years ago when I starting to get back into comics, like, you know, it's just, and you know the store I went to, like, you know, we talked about it, where you know, like I felt like I was at a place and like I, you know, like I felt like I don't know if I belong here. I don't know much about comic books. Yeah, like what's your tips and anything that you could recommend for you know, the first time collector out there?
Well, if you're not picking up obviously the big Marvel titles or DC titles, and you know, obviously the main thing is you read what you like. So if you're into, you know, samurai type of storylines, you know, look for those type of things. If you're into magic type of characters, you know, when you go into a shop and you see, hey, there's like a new #1, you know, pick it up, open it up. If you like the art, you know, maybe read the back cover. Sometimes a lot of these indie prints, you know, Scout Comics, Vault Comics, they kind of give you a little synopsis. Or heck, you're there, I'm sure you have your phone, go on the company's website, see the synopsis of the series. If the first paragraph hits you hard, you know, hey, you know, give it a try. There's tons of series out there that I probably wouldn't have picked up, and I just picked it up on a whim, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, we talked about it over the past couple of weeks, over the past couple of months. Image Comics put out this series called Stray Dogs. I was just like, okay, it's a series about talking dogs. And I'm like, all right, what's this going to be about? And I read about it, and they said it's very like Lady and the Tramp meets Seven. And I'm like, all right, well, I like Disney. I like Lady and the Tramp, and Seven's like one of my favorite movies. So I'm like, this has got to be good. And it's a horror comic book, but it's told through the dogs. Like the dogs all talk to each other. They can't talk to humans, but what's happening throughout the series. And last week's issue 3 just came out. It hit me hard. Zach talked about it last week on the podcast, didn't spoil it. And as soon as we got done with the podcast, I read it and I immediately texted him and I said, oh my God.
Now, in terms of like Star Wars, like, is there anything that like, you know, like recommendation, like to pick up, like to get back into like the Star Wars collecting?
I think High Republic right now is the best thing to start off with. You could pick up the Star Wars series, you could pick up Vader, you could pick up Bounty Hunters, and you know that it's somewhere in the timeline of what's going on within you know, the age of the Empire. But High Republic on the Marvel side, and then High Republic Adventures on IDW, that's the future. You know, go out and get those issues, because if you read them now, in 5 years, 10 years, when they come out with movies, you're going to be like, I know what these characters are. Just like we knew, you know who Luke is, you know who Darth Vader is. So these comics that are out now, yeah, they're great, but I think the High Republic is the future of Star Wars. So if you want a jumping on point and they're only a couple issues in, yeah, I'm sure you can't really go out there and buy first prints for cover price anymore, but they're only a couple issues in for High Republic. I think they're on 4, maybe 5. High Republic Adventures is on 3. They're all new Jedis. You know, I read A Light of the Jedi. I started Into the Dark, and then there's another one coming out in June. So it's been good stories.
Yeah. You know, because the reason why I brought that up, because, you know, like the High Republic, to be honest, I slept on the comic book series. I didn't add that to my pull list. But I was just shocked, and I think I messaged you, like I was trying to pick up like the High Republic first issue, and it's sold out. It's like on its 4th printing, which is insane. Like I'm just like, what? This is like a Star Wars comic book on its 4th printing. And like if you try like the comic book, the variant that I bought, and I think I showed you, like I bought it for $30. I went on eBay and people were selling it for like not CGC graded for $90 now. Which is like really pretty insane. Like it's already jumped that high. Do you see a lot of these like older comic, like these High Republic comic books being really expensive down the line, or?
Yeah, I think the Jedi, Keeve Trennis. I think she's the perfect character for for the High Republic. I think she has legs, absolutely grow. It's Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker. That series, we all know those characters. We've known those characters for 40 years. The fact that this is a brand new series, Star Wars is back at Marvel, and they're creating these characters. Without a doubt, you're going to see Keeve in the Black series. You're going to see Avar Chris in the Black series. It's coming. It's whether it's this year or next year. And if you don't pick up the comics now, you're going to be like, who are these characters? We know most of these characters that have been coming out, even the toys. We know them because we've played the video games. We know the comics. We've seen the movies. We've seen the shows. But I think with High Republic has absolutely going to be a place in Star Wars history. I mean, a lot of people like myself, we wanted Old Republic. We really wanted them to go farther back. Wanted Darth Bane. Wanted, the Malak, the Revan stuff, because we're all fans of that. Yes, there's a cult following for all those characters, but this is an in-between storyline. It's 200 years set before Phantom Menace. So the fact that this is, and Yoda's there, so you have a character who and then everybody else is new, so you don't need to know anything. You can pick up your favorite character from the main. There's like at least 15 new Jedi.
It's an interesting take on Yoda in the series as well. Like, it's not the typical what we would actually know. Like I love it. I mean, so far, because like I said, it has potential. I think that, there was a certain level of like divisiveness in the very beginning because they were new characters. And if you would actually heard like right before they released it, like they had a round table with, all the writers, editors, like people and they were explaining the different storyline and the different characters and stuff like that. And I guess it was just like, not, it wasn't overwhelming, but I guess just people who, they were excited, but it's like seeing that same excitement translated into the book itself. You had to pick it up and read it and understand why they were excited. It's like, okay, some of these characters are really interesting. So yeah, like I'm interested in, and then on top of that, like I said, it's good for, for fans to grapple to this first, because then it actually teaches them and then they're going to go back and look at like all the old lore and just get introduced and to the Star Wars universe itself. So yeah, definitely, man. And
it's a perfect thing to join now, especially in the world we live in. We grew up, we all knew that all the characters in Star Wars, it was Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, they were guide Jedis. So then they brought in, when they did the new Skywalker series or saga, whatever you want to call it, like Force Awakens, they brought a girl, and so they got the girls involved, so but they kept a white character. Now with Keeve, listen, if you're a young black girl and you want to get into Star Wars, follow her. Even the IDW series, you got Luna. Luna's another, she's another Black Jedi Padawan. Like,
exactly,
perfect. You want to get people that are not used to, people like, oh, Star Wars, it's Luke Skywalker. The only black guy in the entire galaxy is Lando Calrissian. Like, not anymore, man.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Keeve is a great character to pick up. I love the IDW. I love Luna. I think and then there's even like a new character they're doing like a manga for, like an Oriental one who's part of, she actually already appeared in one of these issues as just like a one shot, but she's going to get her own series. So all the different characters and races, it's perfect, man. I'm following Keeve for the long haul.
Yeah. And it's cool to see the fact that we have a little bit more diversity, not a little bit, but a lot more diversity in these comic books, and the fact that what I heard with the High Republic is going to lead up to the Acolyte. I don't know if you heard about that, Justin.
I don't know. I think that's what they're teasing is the Acolytes is the High Republic, but no confirmation, no definite, but
like
we'll
when you
see.
could, because there's no like I haven't, so I've collected a lot of the High Republic comic books. I just haven't got a chance to sit down and read all of them. So, if you guys, I'm not to spoil anything too much, but my understanding is that there is no Sith here yet, correct? So from what I heard, that the High Republic are going to introduce all these characters and all these Jedi's, and they're all fighting like space pirates and all these things. But then there's like I guess a behind the scenes villain that's kind of stirring things up in the background, and it's gonna, like, all these comic books and books are gonna lead to the Acolyte movie, where they reveal them. Well, the Sith reveal themselves as like the guys that's been really like, playing behind the scenes and really like causing all this problems or troubles. I don't know. I haven't read it, so I could be totally wrong what's going on with the High Republic now, but that's why I think they're really pushing hard for these comic books. And then the Acolytes movie is supposed to release, like, I don't know how many years, 2 or 3 years from now. So I think that's why they're trying hard to like create this universe and step away from the Skywalker saga and trilogy and timeline and create this time. I don't know if you heard anything like that, Justin.
I don't think I mean, I know with the space pirates, like the Nil, that's what they're called. They first appeared in the IDW series. So Star Wars High Republic Adventures is where they first appeared, and their like main guy, Martian Rowe, he's like the big baddie. So, and they kind of briefly again, they even show up in Light of the Jedi. So I don't think we're going to get any Sith. Like, you briefly learn about the Sith in episode 5 with this newest character, these plant creatures that they talk about, and they kind of go over their origin and their history, and they even talk about how the Sith used them and then kind of threw them away like they were, exiled, like they didn't need them anymore. They didn't need their power or what they could do. That's really the only thing we've seen in, I guess, 8 issues of the Star Wars High Republic. That's the only time we see anything of the Sith. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be here for a while if they show anybody. I think it's going to be a different era of Star Wars. So I think it's going to be like the Space Pirates era.
The Space Pirates era. And like, that's why I said, like, and again, this is just like from what I heard rumored that like the Acolyte is connected. I don't know, like there's a timeline of the High Republic, and it's towards the end of that timeline, leading up to, I guess, what's happening in maybe the Phantom Menace or something like that. So it's really far into it. So I don't know.
From what they're saying, they've already chosen a female character for the Acolytes. Someone who we know, or I don't know. Apparently there's some stirrings there already, so they know what route they want to take. So it'd be interesting to see.
Like a female, like bad guy villain, like a Sith.
I don't know.
That'd be cool.
Like, they didn't really say anything.
Dude, that's the one thing that's been lacking, to be honest, in like this, in the Star Wars universe. It's like, it's supposed to be originally like Darth Talon, right? Like that was supposed to be the main villain in the sequel trilogy. But I guess Disney axed that because she was a little too revealing. But it would have been
they could have, Disney-fied the whole thing to kind of spice it up. They could have actually did that. So
yeah,
I don't know. I just like I said, I want to see a show, really that encapsulates the from the Sith side, just basically being, whether it's the Rule of Two or how they even develop the Rule of Two. I wanted to see something. I would love to see something like that played out, but
like maybe Darth Bane, or like I don't know where Darth Bane's timeline is. I heard he was supposed to make his comeback. I'm not too sure, but it's a great time to be seriously like a Star Wars fan, especially with the comic books being so popular now, and we see it with, like I made that example with the 4th printing of the High Republic. It's crazy. Is there any other, and I know I want to recommend people to listen to your podcast, but is there, maybe you could give us like a little tease of like what to look out for in terms of like, things, like, in terms of comic books, like, hey, listen, look out for this maybe, and listen to my podcast, why, why you should you should pick this book up.
It's tough right now. I think to be honest, I think the publishers like Vault Comics, Scout Comics, they've really been putting out a lot of good stuff. It doesn't have to be the big three. It doesn't have to be Marvel, DC, or Image. I think Boom Studios has come a long way with Something Is Killing the Children. You have obviously Berserker. They're putting out new number ones, every other week for these series. These are all creator-owned stuff. It doesn't have to be a superhero type of comic book. So I definitely think if you guys check out Vault Comics, Scout, even like Black Mask, they put out a couple good comics here and there. I picked up there was this one called Destiny New York. It's only one issue so far. It's basically about a girl in high school and magic is in the world. So it's kind of like Harry Potter, but on a nationwide scale where it's acceptable. And I thought that series so far with the one issue was pretty good. So I don't know. There's tons of issues. There's tons of stories out there, and it's usually what happens is Wednesday I go to the shop. Like I said, I walk around, I see new number ones. I kind of look through it. If I can go on my phone real quick and kind of see, I read about it. I'm like, man, if this is something that I want to get into, yeah, you can't buy everything. You definitely can't buy everything.
And how about in terms of like Star Wars, like anything that
I think if anybody is not collecting Star Wars currently, High Republic is the way to go. And even right now, a good jumping on point is maybe getting all this War of the Bounty Hunter stuff, because you don't need to collect all the issues for Aphra and Vader beforehand. This is just a crossover event, so all these issues are going to be combined. And then if at that point, if you want to continue the series, all right, well then continue the series of Bounty Hunters, continue Star Wars.
How about the new Vader?
The new Vader has been good. Like I said, they introduced Ochi in there. His series is always good. The volume 1 was great, with just introducing Aphra and it being like right after A New Hope, and then with volume 2 going back to post Revenge of the Sith and the Inquisitors, and him hunting all the different Jedi that survived, the introduction of multiple new characters, and this third series is the same thing. It's now after Empire. There's still new characters being introduced, but I want to see what's going to happen next. Like if they've been going 25 issues, so right now we're about 12. If they end it and then pick it back up, will the next series go again back prior to New Hope? So it's really, you got to pick your character. Do you want to continue the characters that you know and love, and just Star Wars? Even Star Wars Volume 2 is only at, I guess, issue 12. So, and you could still run back and get the first 12 issues of that if you don't want to get Volume 1 and read it. They introduced Starlight Squadron, so there's a bunch of new characters there. You see Poe's mom and dad, they're introduced. And those are characters. Hey, I picked up a couple copies of the Star Wars. I want to say it's like 9 or 10, which was first Starlight Squadron. Hey, maybe they're going to do that in the Rogue Squadrons show. I don't know, but it's
never know.
Long-term hold, short-term, gain right now.
Well, Leia, I was going to ask you, like, have you been picking up a lot of the Star Wars? I know you said that you've been reading the High Republic, right? Any other ones that's been your favorite?
It's been, like I said, the Dr. Aphra, High Republic. Of course, Vader. I even been picking up. Actually, a friend of mine, thankfully enough, got me the one-shot Lando Calrissian book from Alex Ross. I was over the moon when I actually got that, because he, pretty much, shout out to Brennan. He knew I wanted. I was a fan, so I got that. But yeah, I've been trying to stick, close to the, so far just the High Republic, because if I do want to actually, because I want to kind of follow these particular characters, because it's something brand new, it's something fresh, and you want to give it a chance. You know what I mean? You want to actually see the development, of these characters, and something to kind of like would bridge the gap between old and new. But yeah, but Vader, of course, I mean, that's just a no-brainer. Like, that storyline, it just continues to impress. And then you just discover more about Vader, just like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, even like they've make it's sort of like he becomes like the anti-hero in the books, like just nonstop because of the things. And it's like he not knowing that he's stopping certain things from happening. You know what I mean? But at the same time, knowing that he has to be as submissive as he is to like the empire, the empire itself. But it's yeah, I love it. I love it. I just really love it so far.
Well, I just want to know is like, do you think with the Kenobi show, do you think like like Volume 2 Vader would skyrocket because it's taking place after Revenge of the Sith? Do you think that that comic book run will gain some value?
I think in what characters we're going to see. Again, like Lil said, if we see an Inquisitor, the Inquisitors, their first appearances in the Volume 2 series. So any of them that show up, and
I'm telling you, if we get an Inquisitor, a live action Inquisitor, the internet's gonna go crazy, bro. I'm telling you, because people have been wanting the Inquisitors for the longest time. Like that would definitely set it off.
Yeah. Yeah, because the first time we got an Inquisitor was in Rebels, right? Like that was one of the first time I got exposed to Inquisitors, and then we got a little bit more information about the Inquisitors in Vader Volume 2, where they kind of show you like I guess you could call them the army or like this the school of the Inquisitors, right? Like so yeah, man, like oh man. I don't know. It's just long story short, it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan. And seriously, Justin, like really appreciate you like, coming on and like educating us about like Star Wars comic book collecting. I'm sure there's a lot of collectors out there who's been really thinking about dabbling into collecting comic books. I think I have I think Mike, I don't know if Mike Costa is watching the show. He was like, oh man, is this live stream going to make me get back into like collecting like physical comic books? Because I guess he was reading all digital.
Yeah.
But just man, like your last episode, and I forget the guest that you had on. I guess he was like, you guys were talking about like,
JB, yeah,
JB. I'm halfway through the episode, but just the fact that you guys were talking about like, like some of these books being so expensive, and your example with Ahsoka, that Ahsoka book, $300 that you bought it for, and now it's like $3,000. That's insane, man. That's insane. That's like some like when you hear that, you're like, yeah, like I have that in my collection, kind of stuff. And I know you said in your comic book podcast that like it's because a lot of collectors don't want to let go of their comic books, right?
Yeah, JB said that it's just they want to buy them and they don't want to sell them, but at the same time a lot of people are selling them. And even nowadays, if you can find a book, especially if you want to do an investment, if you don't want to buy the book raw, if you can buy a CGC book in a 9.8, we've always said if you buy $100 book for a CGC 9.8, it's a no-brainer. It's going to cost you $20 to $30 just to grade it, and you're not guaranteed a 9.8. But it's like I said, I was buying Dr. Aphra's and 9.8s for $100 a year ago. It just happens, and I think now is the time. Even same thing. I don't want to tell you who I'm doing for my next Star Wars spec, but I'll tell you, if 9.8s are definitely under $100 if you can get them.
Okay, so when can we listen for this? I know because usually when you talk about your spec books recommendation, it's usually like a 10-15 minute episode, which I absolutely love because you just go straight to the point. When will this episode drop for your for your podcast?
I'll probably drop it the week of May the 4th.
Oh man. Okay. Looking forward to that. And again, layout, like, seriously, like I've been like, right now I have like a bunch of comic books I want to grade because I want to display it with like my statues, like I have the Vader and I have it on the thumbnail where it's Vader and Anakin, right? Like where he's like, like it's half of it's Vader, half of it's Anakin. Like I want to CGC grade that and display that with my Vader like statue and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think that's one thing I love about comic book collecting. Not only the fact that hey, you get like really good, you have a good investment in your hand. But the fact that you like, like we were talking about just a little bit earlier, is that, comic book collectors want to display them, with on the wall or with their statue right there, like exactly, and it just makes your collection pop. And that's what we're here. That's what this podcast is all about. Like, we love Star Wars. We talk about, and you guys heard it in the first hour. Like, we're just talking about Star Wars, and then like this is like another aspect of Star Wars collecting is the comic books. And I feel like, now is the time to get into it, because Star Wars is big right now. The hype is getting there. And I feel like, I don't know if it's gonna happen. I don't know, Justin. Do you think that Star Wars will get to that point in time where it's almost like in the same level as a Marvel and DC like comic book and some of these independent books, where it's like really doing well enough where like, oh, it's a, like a spec book is like $10,000 or $15,000.
I think the only ones that are going to be in that range are the lower print ones. So Star Wars 1 was probably in the 70s, had a decent sized print run, but that book is just blown up over the past year. I think Clone Wars 1 will always hold value. I think Heir to the Empire 1, with Thrawn's name, that same thing. That book was probably $200 in a 9.8. Now, the moment Ahsoka said his name,
it's going up.
It was up. It wasn't even. It didn't even get a bump like when he was in Rebels. Like I thought, all right, well the book, he's in an animated series, but that didn't really do anything. Same thing with Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan's first appearance is a little, mini digest book. Her book was like a nothing book, and then the moment she appeared in the series, that book was over $1,000.
Yeah,
they're low prints. The moment Bane, Revan Malik come on scene, those books are already over $1,000, and it's just a cult following.
Gosh, holy crap! I know you talked about it. It still baffles me. Those things are over $1,000.
Yeah, I at the highest point, I was grading them the Star Wars Tales 23, which is the Revan and Malik issue. Or no, I think no, it was Knights of the Old Republic 9. Knights of the Old Republic 9 is the first Revan. That book in its highest sale last year went for like $2,200.
Wow,
it blew me away. I sold one in a 9.8 for about 15, and I probably bought it for peanuts on the dollar.
Leo, I'm about to be buying me some like comic books and just like grade it and just use some of that money to buy my Hot Toys.
I'm gradually doing it. Like I said, I mean, being a comic collector, like, I mean, I'm, from Marvel to DC, Marvel right now, I'm really been sticking close to like, just my X-Men titles, because that's where I'm at right now. I mean, DC, of course, with the, the Trinity and, but, with Star Wars, it's just like I have my Grail pieces, but and I think it's because a lot of it's being that it's not as big, it's more focused on certain characters. So when they are mentioned, okay, let me grab it, because it's going to be like a limited run at that particular point, especially like with, certain, writers and artists and stuff like that. So you want to get your hands on it, whereas, with Marvel DC, you're bound to basically find reissue covers, or you can actually get it. You know what I mean? So yeah, like, Star Wars is I mean, like it's secret. It's like, I would actually want to say almost that it's up there. It's just playing the back right now. It's just actually so under the scene, so far under the radar, where you have your loyalists who are out there getting these pieces and collecting them, and buying them, the ones, especially the ones that are graded. I'm just like, let me just wait. let me just wait and see, man.
Can't wait too long, though. This is a franchise that's been around for 40 years.
Exactly.
It didn't get its due. And the thing is, a lot of those Dark Horse books, they're so low prints. Yeah.
And the thing is, I still have a lot of the Dark Horse prints. I even had a guy, because I had like when we have like, a friend of mine, Vinny, he has like a they around locally around the areas, they do like collectibles stuff. Like he did like an online show, and he showed one of like just like one of my Dark Horse prints, and somebody hit him up immediately and was like, yo, can I He's like, nah, he's not selling it. It's just basically but you know, it just lets you know like people are really searching for these pieces. So I mean, and that's one of the reasons why, like I said, when it comes to like the you know, the High Republic, I wanted to stick to that because like I said, it's like you said, you know, once we get these runs, it's like it's going to be hard to come by like quick, especially because High Republic was something that was new and fresh. And it's a new idea. Like, man, like it is. Star Wars right now is just creeping up on people crazy, bro. Like it really, really is. Especially now that we have these shows, the nostalgia is there. You know what I mean? So I'm in it.
Yeah. And again, man, it's just you know, seriously, Justin, thank you for coming in and just really educating us. I really hope that the listeners and the viewers out there, you know, take this, you know, your tips and your advice about getting into, you know, if you're looking into getting into Star Wars comic book collecting, now's the time. And you know, trying to get these books, and you know, and listen to your podcast, and you know, try to get these books before, you know, they go up in value. And you know, again, your Ahsoka book is just a perfect example. Hey, listen, if you want to go and turn around, if you had an extra one, right, like you bought two of them, you could easily turn around and just sell one of them, and then use some of that money to fund like Hot Toys collecting or statue collecting, right? You know, and that's one thing that you really don't get with Hot Toys, right? And statues and all these other collectibles, is the fact that like the investment return is that high, that much higher in a comic book. So yeah, and again, great time to be a Star Wars fan. And you know, but before we wrap things up, you know, Justin, can you let everyone know where they could listen to you and reach out to you in terms of your social media platforms and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So on Instagram, I am Nemesis_Prime. You can find me on the ComicCom podcast. The ComicCom podcast has an IG account, and on there we have all of our links where you can hear us pretty much anywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, Anchor FM. We drop episodes on a weekly basis every Friday. I do a Star Wars spec every now and then. And of course, my other co-host, Zach Milton Manimal, does his Mutant Mondays when he's got some information to throw down. So I've done a few Star Wars spec. Like I said, I'll be dropping my fourth one the week of May the 4th for a character that I think everybody should be picking up. It's, you know, it's a known character if you have been keeping track of what's going on in the Star Wars universe or video games as such. So, you know, be sure to just listen to us. And if you got any questions, I always answer stuff. People are always hitting me up on my Instagram about Star Wars. You know, should I buy this one? Should I buy that book? And, you know, I tell them if it's a long-term hold, if it's, you know, short-term hold. But right now is a good time because a lot of stuff that was announced in December and January, now is a little bit of a lull. But come the end of the year, once, you know, more people get, if you see a trailer for something, you get Mandalorians coming back, those books are going to heat right back up. So now's the time to buy these books.
Wow. And that's great too. You know, again, like you use your collection to fund your collection. Like we always talk about that, you know, and hey, if you get a couple books that are spec books and they go up in value, you know, again, it keeps you in, you know, it's one of those things that keeps you in the game, in the collecting game. And I'm sure a lot of comic book collectors do the same thing too, correct? Like Justin, like,
yeah, it funds it. If you buy a book on the low, you sell it on the high, it funds the collection. It funds your next book. I've done it before. I've sold books for, you know, a couple $100, and then I put it towards something I wanted. It wasn't something that I needed. You know, it's not a book that I had a emotional attachment to. So, you know, if I sold it for $300-400, I hold on to that and I put it towards maybe a Batman book or, you know, maybe a Spider-Gwen book, something like that. So yeah, that's how I look at it. It's always, as long as you're not going into your savings and stuff like that, funding the hobby is the best way to do it. And
exactly.
Finding those books.
Exactly. Because man, if people, you know, viewers and listeners know, and you know, Leia, we've been talking about it, we're about to get hit hard. May the 4th, we're gonna get hit hard. So yeah, please check out Justin on his ComicCom podcast and Nemesis Prime on Instagram. Leal, you know, it was a great episode, man. You know, it's very informative. It was great to have Justin on the podcast, and we got we got more to come, man. Like, this is just like the beginning for this Sithcast podcast. So if you guys haven't subscribed, please do so. It really helps us out. Please join the Scum and Villainy Outpost collecting Facebook group. You know, that's where, you know, we talk pretty much everything, you know, Star Wars, including collecting comic books, statues, and everything like that. Art prints, you know, and you know, we got a really good treat for everybody in May the 4th. Man, you know, we got like a whole line of shows that we don't want to tell you now. We don't want to give away all our shows. You know, we're gonna like let you guys know probably the night before what the menu is for May the 4th. And Justin, if you're around and if you want to hop on in one of the those live streams, you're more than welcome to. I'll send you out the link.
Absolutely. If I'm not busy, I'm currently working from home, so if I don't have anything going on at a certain time and you guys are on, if something gets announced and you guys are enjoying talking about it, I'll absolutely jump on.
Let's go.
Okay. So all right, guys, so I really appreciate you guys listening, and always remember, do we love, what we collect, and may the midichlorians be with you guys always and forever. Take care, everybody. I'll see you guys next week.
Dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.